please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hi, very good afternoon. You're watching Your Stocks on CNBC TV18. Ekta Batra. With me is Nigel, and it's turning out to be a great session for us. We are above 10,400. We haven't had any sort of pullback from those levels either. We've managed to maintain that level above at around 434 in today's trading session. That is 10,433, 10,434. And what really stands out is the unmoved or unchanged gains that we've seen for the Bank Nifty as well as the mid-cap index. So the Bank Nifty index itself is up close to around 2% We have the mid-cap index also, which is up around 0.5% at this point in time. So overall, turning out to be a good session for us. 2:1 is where the advance decline ratio is, and a couple of numbers which are flashing on your screen as well. Subros, where the revenue is up around 15% at this point. Hi Nigel.
Hey, yeah, Subros' numbers look quite good, and I think PPAP Automotive as well. That stock has had a big run, I think, in the last month or so. In fact, those numbers that initially flashed for you on the screen looked quite good. The stock has spiked up to the high point of the day, sitting with a gain of around 6%. There was a margin expansion, I think so, and even the revenue number looked quite good. So we'll try to get those numbers up as and when we do get that. Well, let's first run you through all the top stories, then we'll get to answering all your queries. The Nifty trades firmly above the 10,400 mark. The Sensex gains more than 400 points. The rally is fueled by banking stocks, which are on fire today, as the Bank Nifty hits yet another record high.
Bharti Airtel soars in trade to be one of the top contributors to Nifty's gains today after its Africa business beats estimates. CLSA upgrades the stock to a buy with a target of 637. Also boosting the stock is the company's announcement of interest for selling controlling stake in Bharti Infratel.
And TVS Motors reports a pretty much inline set of numbers. The margins, though, at 8.6% beat street estimates, while the revenue grows by 18%, coming in at around 4,050 crores.
October auto sales start trickling in. Maruti sales are a marginal miss on analyst estimates. Eicher Motors too disappoints as sales growth comes in at 18% versus expectations of 24%. Escort sales beat expectations while M&M comes in line.
And on the earnings calendar, then, Tech Mahindra's profit is likely to fall by around 8%. Despite the operating income growth, the revenue growth may be led by the enterprise vertical. Hero MotoCorp sales growth may be driven by 11% jump in sales volumes.
And Dredging Corp jumps 20% after CNBC TV18 learns that the government is likely to sell its entire stake in the company. Sugar company is also in focus as the cabinet is likely to have given a nod for a revision in ethanol prices. That's an exclusive. Okay, well, those were the top stories that we're tracking, and those are the tourism finance numbers. Net profit up 17% and the stock is actually not looking too bad. Just in the past couple of minutes, we've had three numbers which have come in from the broader markets, and all three of them seem to be on the positive side. PPAP Automotive is what Nigel mentioned. We have Subros and now tourism finance, all of them getting a thumbs up from what is actually a very lively market. But today we have Shahina Mukadam joining in on the fundamentals and Sandeep Bagle to answer all of your technical stock queries. So afternoon, Shahina as well as Sandeep. Thanks very much for joining in. First question is Sudhir Jain calls us from New Delhi. He has investments in JSW Energy. Sudhir, hi.
Hello.
Hi, your question on JSW Energy?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Hold or sell?
Okay, you want to know if you should hold or sell. If you can hold it, how long is your time frame to hold JSW Energy?
I want to be hold for 2 or 3 years.
Okay, you're a long-term investor. Okay, Shahina, what would you recommend to Sudhir? He's okay with holding it as a long-term investor. That's JSW Energy. So numbers are today, but we can keep that aside for now. But nonetheless, from a 2 to 3 year perspective, what would you recommend?
Yeah, see, actually today's numbers may be slightly disappointing in the sense we expect profits to be lower on a YOY basis, even despite a flattish type of revenue growth. But I think if you're holding for a 2 to 3 year horizon period, I think it looks good because we have a lot of assets in the power sector which are likely to be up for bidding. And I believe JSW Energy is an aggressive bidder. In fact, one of the JP group power assets, I believe they are a bidder. This is almost about a 2,200 megawatt type of facility. So to that extent, I think the growth will be pretty rapid. And if they're able to contain their debt, I think this should be a decent stock to hold for the medium to longer term. So I would give a hold.
Okay, hold is what's the fundamental view that's coming in there on JSW Energy. What's your take, Sandeep? I mean, if you had to look at this counter for the longer term?
Afternoon, Nigel. I would too give a hold. I would talk of a target of anywhere between 125 to 130 given a time of 12 to 15 months. I think he's talking of 2 years, so no problem. Hold with a stop loss of 66. I don't see that being broken.
Okay, all right, that's on JSW Energy. But now Sunita writes to us from Punjab. She wants to invest 1 lakh in Tech M for the long term and wants to know when is the right time to enter the market. Well, Shahina, what would you recommend? Numbers are today as well for Tech M. Is it a good investment?
Yeah, she can. It's a good investment. She can buy it post numbers, even if there is a slight bit of dip, because it is likely that we could see some bit of a disappointment coming in. But I think, but if you look at pure valuations, they're pretty attractive. It's just about 12 times EV by EBITDA. And with a 14p. Also, I think as and when international markets for IT stabilize, which is happening now, especially Europe, where Tech Mahindra is pretty strong, and auto numbers picking up, the whole sector picking up, I think Tech Mahindra should be decent. So one could definitely be buying it post numbers with a decent target of 515 for the shorter term, 6 month period, 6 months to a year period.
Okay, all right then. That's the fundamental view coming in on Tech Mahindra. By the way, just pull up the intraday chart of Infibeam. Out of nowhere, remember the stock was trading in the red, was down more than 1%. Now that's jumping up in the last few minutes, so just keep an eye out on that one. It's spiked up in the last few minutes, so just keep an eye out on that stock. Well, I think on that note, we can slip into a short break. You come back, we'll continue our focus on the markets. We'll keep answering all your queries. Broader markets. Godfrey Phillips, I think that stock should come up for you. It's spiking up in the last few minutes. And Infibeam, the one that we're looking at before we went into the break, well, that's spiked up even more. By the way, the telecom pack, that's really rallied big time in the last month and a half. I think we should pull up Idea. That stock seems to be having a good idea. Bharti Airtel, yes, that one was leading the gains, but just take a look at Idea. Now that's up close to around 7.5%. So that as well looking quite good. Well, let's move on then. We have Mr. Das who calls us from Pune. He has investments in Apollo Tyres. Hi, Mr. Das. Good afternoon, sir. How can we help you?
Good afternoon. This is Shubhra calling from Pune. I'm holding, Apollo Tyres share of around 100 at the rate 185 rupees from last 1.5 years.
Okay.
So I just want to know, my time horizon is around 3 to 4 years long-term perspective.
3 to 4 years.
So,
oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good news then. Okay, Sandeep, what's your take on the charts? How's it looking? He's in the money. So where exactly should he be placing that stop loss at?
210 can be a very safe stop loss, Nigel. And I would talk of the next 12 to 15 months target of 350, 360. I think 3 to 4 years it can be much higher than that. But as of now, 350, 360 will do.
Okay, Shahina, fundamentally, what would you recommend on Apollo Tyres?
I continue to hold the stock personally also, and I would continue to hold it as of now. After the first quarter disastrous numbers, the stock has been consolidating at lower levels, but I think that valuations are not expensive. It's 2 times sales. And the reason why the numbers were bad, which likely could be also in this current quarter, EBITDA margins could see a big dip because of the European impact of the huge expansion in Europe, which has recently commenced operations. But I think that is a very big positive for the medium to longer term, so I would continue holding at current levels.
Well, let's get in a couple of more queries now. G. Raja calls in and he has a question on Punjab National Bank. Hi, Raja.
Yes, madam.
Hi. Your question is on Punjab National Bank.
Yes, madam. Yes.
Okay. What would you like to know?
Madam, 225 level, 350 share buying, last Thursday, 4 days before.
Okay.
Holding or exit, holding or exit, short-term trader.
Okay, Raja, we'll just get to your query in just a bit, but we do have the Shriram transport numbers which are flashing on your screen. And what it seems like is that there is a net profit which has increased by around 24%. So that's what we're working with at this point in time. Remember that for Shriram as well, we're going to get more details considering it's an NBFC after some time. So it'll trickle in terms of the NII which they've reported, plus also the asset quality details, etc. So overall, right now, we're just working with a profit figure. And it's better than estimates. We were working with a growth of around 19% and they've come in with a growth of around 24%. 479 crores is where they've come in at. So not looking too bad in terms of the numbers at this point. We'll wait by to get you more details on Shriram. The revenue is up around 10%, but nonetheless, we'll wait by for the NII, which is expected to grow at least around 14% this quarter. And obviously, the asset quality, the assets under management growth, as well as the net interest margins, all of that will be important. Remember, gross NPA was 8% last quarter. So anything obviously below that level or stable would be a positive for Shriram. So that's what we have as of now. The profit figure looking good, and you can see that the stock is reacting to that particular profit figure. Last quarter, asset quality was stable, 8% versus 8.16%. So if that stability continues into this quarter, then it'll be considered a positive. But Shahina, we were talking about Raja's query on Punjab National Bank. So if you can just fill us in quickly, because he is a short-term trader, I think. But in any case, give us both the view. And he's sitting on a bit of a loss right now.
Short-term trader, basically, he should keep a good stop loss. So I would keep a deep stop loss of 160 because the stock has rallied very sharply in the last couple of days, backed on news, which is the recapitalization of banks. But I think with a very low capital adequacy as of now, just around 9%, there is a long way to go before it starts reflecting into numbers. So I would keep a stop loss. Times are good, but I think overall PSU banks have rallied too far ahead of news.
Okay, all right, Shahina. Let's move on then. But on that note, I think first let's slip in a short break. And as we do that, here's a quick word coming in from Nilesh Shah, Managing Director of Kotak Mahindra AMC, on what he makes of the government's bank recap plans.
At the end of the day, with massive capital infusion, the credit growth, which was growing at 7.5%, can easily move into mid-double digits. When I say mid-double digits, around 15%, not 50%. So that credit growth expansion will expand the denominator, reduce the impact of numerator of NPAs, and the whole growth story comes back. And if credit is expanding in the banking system, then obviously there will be beneficial impact on the economic growth and corporate India. So this 2,11,000 crore recapitalization is changing the whole game. Undoubtedly, there will be some shift towards the PSU bank. Barring few exceptions, majority of institutional investors were underweight PSU banks for a variety of reasons. And we have to remember that when you come down from 100 to 10, you go down 90%. But you go from 10 to 20, you are up 100%, and 20 to 40, you will be up another 100%. So this is a bounce from the bottom, and hence there is a lot of scope for it to improve.
The mid-cap index, actually, it was always doing a relative underperformance, and now that underperformance is just, getting a little bit worse, actually. A couple of stocks have taken a bit of a knock. Hexaware, let's pull up the intraday chart. We're expecting more or less flattish performance coming in from there. On the top line, the margins are expected to hold steady at around 16.5%, though the bottom line is expected to take a knock of close to around 3%. That stock, suddenly there is some nervousness creeping into that stock. It's moved lower. Part of the financial inclusion as well has suddenly taken a bit of a knock, so just keep an eye out on those couple of stocks. Well, we have a query though that's come in. Tirtha writes to us from Bengaluru. She holds 500 shares of Shriram Transport Finance at a price of around 985 for the past 3 months. Long-term investor wants to know whether or not to hold or to sell. We'll just answer that query. By the way, we have first source numbers. Looks like, in fact, the numbers are more or less flattish on a sequential basis. That's the top line number. The profitability is up by only around 5%. I didn't see the margin number, but it seems the street would have wanted a bigger top line growth, I think, and that's why, in fact, the stock is selling off, moving virtually to the low point of the day. But Sandeep, you were talking about that query on Shriram Transport. Well, what's your suggestion there?
I would recommend a hold with a stop loss of 950, and my target for the next 1 year to 15 months could be anywhere between 1330, 1340.
Okay, well, that's on Shriram Transport, but I think we can also wrap up the show now. So, Sandeep as well as Shahina, thanks very much for joining in and taking us through all of those queries. And we're going to wrap up the show, but do remember you can keep sending us all of your stock questions by posting it on our Money Control message board as well as on Twitter. But stay tuned, closing bell will take you through the last hour of trade.